Freeology Friday, the final episode. I'm
Final
Aaron Tomlinson, and this is.
I'm Derek Day. This is the Freeology finale. You know what,
Yeah.
Aaron? I got to tell you something. I almost wore a black suit today. I was
Oh,
gonna. I was thinking about that, like having a good Freeology funeral. You know?
oh man. Yeah, I don't even know if I own a black suit, but I would have joined you in that for sure.
Yeah, yeah. That would have been fun.
We do need to get together. I was talking today in a live I did earlier about, meeting you in person. That when it's been almost a year, it's hard to
Yep,
believe.
yep. Coming up on
Um,
a year.
and I did not know I was almost dying.
Well, at least you found out.
And I do regret, because I thought, man, I just wasn't at my best at all. And I regret that. But I really would love to just hang out now that you're thinner. There's less of you. There's less of me. we can hang out together. Hey, speaking of that, you've been doing a phenomenal job, man, on your own health journey and weight
Man,
loss journey. It's been amazing.
thank you. And what was cool is I had my annual physical last Friday, a week ago today, and I was down 50 and a half pounds, and that's according to the doctor. You
That's
know, and my doctor and the nurse that does all the triage stuff, they were like, dude, whatever you've been doing, you look fantastic, and I'm like, thank you, and I told them what I was doing. But it's a funny thing about that, just real quick aside, is that my cholesterol is higher, both my good and my bad. But the doctor said it's not a big deal because my good cholesterol is up high enough that it counters the bad. So, but my triglycerides, A1C, and all of the other bad stuff is, so this is working. It's working.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, speaking of that, what do you have in the glass tonight?
Oh man, just some cheap ass Merlot Sutter
Oh
Home.
yeah, hey, that's good stuff though. For the
It is.
price, for
This
the
is
price,
probably,
you can't beat it.
yeah, for the price. This is about the most drinkable cheap wine that you can buy.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah. So I'm doing a michelada again.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just staying away from the hard stuff for a while. Not very keto friendly for sure, because I used the Clamato,
Yeah.
and it's beer, Modelo
Okay.
and Clamato. So,
All right.
but I am back down to 195. I just can't. I got that last 10 pounds, man. It's just kicking my ass. So,
Well, dude, I'm trying to get where you are. As I'm like, I weighed in today. I was like 219, so I was a little bit heavier than I have been. But getting back to work and everything, we had executive meetings in Dallas all week, and
mm,
so catered breakfast, catered lunch, and then go
yep,
out to dinner.
sure.
So yeah, I ate like a pig, and none of it was keto friendly. None of
Right.
it. So
Yeah. So, but I'm determined this summer. I'm gonna shed that. I'm gonna shed those 10 pounds
yep.
this summer. I'll have more time to work out, because we don't have anything going on in the summer, because we don't have any students that we can see really.
Yeah.
So, we do professional development training, stuff like that. And I'm going to work out more while I'm at work and get paid for it. So that'll be cool.
Yeah, I'm working on May and I are going to take our real honeymoon in July, and so
Nice.
my goal is to be beach ready for that trip. So
Nice. Nice. Yeah. I told you before we got started that I'm going to attempt to raise money for the Cancer Society. They have
mhm.
a thing in June, swim 5 miles in June.
Yep.
So I'm gonna sign up for that. Well, I signed up for it, but I got to figure out how to attach the link for the fundraising part of it. But so that's my goal, on top of making it to the weight room and walking and all the stuff I'm doing already,
Yep.
to get 5 miles of swimming in a month. So considering the fact that I haven't swam that much in a really long time, I think that's a formidable goal. The fact that they told me 8 months ago, you have the heart of an 80-year-old man.
Wow.
That I'm going to wear that T-shirt and with pride. So that's my goal for June, and I'm hoping that the 10 pounds comes off with that. So we'll see.
Well, you know something that's like 5 miles. That's the farthest that I've ever swam. Literally,
Really?
that's
Yeah.
it.
I did 11 miles in one day when I was 16. That's
Wait,
the most.
how many miles?
11 miles in one day in
Yeah,
2 sessions.
oh,
Yeah.
that's badass, man.
Yeah, I was an animal, and I did it faster than anybody else. So I got my name on our high school, like whatever. That was like that's my 15 minutes of fame right there, dude. 16 years old, and that was it.
You know, my goal is, you know, back in the day, I used to be able to knock out 100 pull-ups like it was nothing, and now I can't do one. So, so my goal is to get back to the point where I can do at least 10. If I can do
Yeah,
10,
that's a good goal.
you know, at 63 years old, I'll be a fucking machine.
Dude, I'm going to tell you, somebody your size, you know, your length and just frame to be able to do 100 pull-ups is really fucking impressive.
Well, I mean, that's, you know, that's where I want to be. But you know, here's the thing: back when I was doing 100 pull-ups, I think I was high water mark then was like 170 pounds. So I was a lot lighter than I was, but I was just, you know, like
Really?
almost no body fat. You know, it was just like streaming steel, man.
Yeah, you would have had to been. But
Yeah.
still, I mean, it's just, you know, I go work out now. I've got long arms. I go work out now, and there's all these guys my age in the gym, right? But they're only like 5'6". And so, but they're doing all this weight, but they're only moving at like 6 inches, right?
Yeah, they don't have as far to move it.
I don't know if there's any physics to this, but I tell myself
I think
in my
there
head,
is. There
I
is.
think too.
Yeah, because like you know, you look at squats, right? And you'll say, you know, fuck, I know I'm stronger than this guy, but I can't squat as much. But you know, this guy's like, you know, 5'5", you know, you don't have
Right,
as far to squat.
right. So that's what I tell myself when I'm doing my bench. Anyway, moving on from that.
Okay, let's move, keeping it moving because today is a solemn occasion. We are gathered here today
Yes.
on this sorrowful occasion. Well, first of all, we're celebrating this next month. Aaron, would be 5 years that we have been doing Freeology together. 5 whole years.
That's wow. That's
I mean,
incredible.
that's hundreds of episodes.
I
You know,
know.
let's say that we do, I mean, it's 52 weeks in a year. Let's say that conservatively we do 40 weeks, you know, a year. You know, times 5, that's 200 episodes. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's insane. So if we were really, you know, had the time, you or I, you probably have the skill. I don't have the skill. Neither one of us has the time. We could have put together clips, you know, from
Yeah.
various different things. So I got a thing here that Jimmy's joining. Let's see if we can pull him up.
Yeah, pull them in. I put the link out there in case anybody wants to join. I sent it out to my wife also because I want, like, one of the things I wanted to talk about is, like, you know, favorite guests, right?
Yeah.
During Freeology, and one of my favorite guests, or let me say this: our most popular guest was Promise Joy, also known as Eve Was Framed.
Yeah.
I think that we had a total of like 5,000 views.
Yeah.
You know, but she has a big audience, and she's a good looking girl, you know, so those things, you know, tend to work out. And then you know, Vanessa Brooks, we had her on. I think you know, Vanessa had peaked the meter pretty good. And then we have
Yeah.
Sean Rivera, which Sean Rivera is a legitimate, you know, musical legend. But this guy's a deep thinker, and I hated the fact that, you know, he happened to be in Singapore when
Right.
we were doing the show, so we had a lot of latency.
Yeah.
But
I regretted that too.
I got to give my wife a shout out as one of my favorite guests on Freeology.
One of I might rephrase that.
You're okay, man, because you know, hey, listen. My mother even said, you know, it's good to meet another son. You know,
Yeah.
it's like my mom loves you, my whole family loves you, everybody loves Aaron. You know,
That's awesome. Thank you. I just, it was such a wonderful time. So, Jimmy, how are you, my friend?
Doing great. I wanted to show
Good.
my face, let y'all know I was still alive, even though I couldn't do my show last night. So I saw the link and I said, let me hop on here real quick and say hello to my brothers. So, hey, brothers, what's up?
What's
Hey,
up,
man.
I mean, hey, I started, I don't know if you saw it in the comments, but for the last two and a half days, I've been doing intermittent fasting. I'm on the 20/4.
Nice.
So,
Oh wow, that's pretty intense.
yeah, I
That is.
mean, you know what? It comes easy for me because back when I used to be a smoker, before I used to smoke cigarettes, and if anyone who's ever smoked before knows that automatically
Appetite.
suppresses your appetite.
Yep.
So I was used to eating either early dinner or late dinner, and I didn't eat breakfast, I didn't eat lunch. You know, single days back when I was just being me,
Yeah.
and then I got in the relationships, and then the one I'm in now, my girl knows how to cook, so. I eat 3 meals a day normally, so I'm trying it out now because there's 25 pounds I want to lose, and I'm also going to start insanity and weightlifting soon after that. So
Nice.
I thought that if I went ahead and got back to eating just once a day, which the first day it felt weird, but after that my body adjusted automatically. So I just eat. I don't eat crazy in those 4 hours, but I do.
Yeah.
Eat a full meal and then maybe some snacks towards the end of the.
If you're in a calorie deficit and you're eating ketogenic or carnivorous, you're gonna strip away pounds. I mean,
Right.
And it'll go quickly, and especially you're doing insanity, like my buddy Eric Terry, retired Navy SEAL. Eric would whenever he wanted to lean out, he did insanity.
Okay, gotcha.
So he actually bought me the whole program. I have the whole program, on thumb drives. He bought me the whole program.
Nice.
And I've never used it because I can't say I never used it. I used it once or twice, and I was like, "Fuck that."
You know what? When I first got it several years ago, it was about about 7 years ago, I think. I did it. Started it once, did it for a week or two, and petered out. And then I did it again, barely made it a month, and then petered out. But you know what? I'm going to do it this time. I'm going to go the whole, 3 months? And I'm just going to do it for the summer. It's my thing to do. It's like, this is my summer activity.
Yep.
Do this. So I'll see it through and see what I look like after, was it 60 or it's either 60 or 90 days, one of the
60 days.
60 days. So 2 months. So I'll get 2 months. I'll get into it, get it done, and we'll see how I feel and what I look like. But I'm going to continue to do the intermittent fasting as long as it makes sense.
Yep.
And I'm also going to continuously lift weights. So that's something I'm going to do.
Building muscle. Muscle will displace fat. But changing gears real quick, while you're here, what has phreology meant to you, man?
To me?
Yeah, to you.
Well, it's to be honest with you, it's always been a source of me getting to know you and Aaron better. And when I listen to what you guys talk about, no matter what it's about, I always learn something new about both of you. So even though I don't talk to Aaron as much as I do you, I feel like I know Aaron more than I would have if phreology didn't exist, right? Yeah. So what I do is I listen to it, whether it's live or on a replay, and it's just interesting. Even if the subject matter isn't something I'm totally interested in, that's not the point. For me, it's just to get to know two of my newest friends. Because there's another friend in here that isn't on yet, but he's in the comments. He's watching. It's Tommy. I just saw him in Cincinnati a couple weeks ago, like a week and a half ago.
That was so cool. I was jealous as shit, man.
Yeah, it was pretty fun, man. It was pretty fun. So I got to see family. I got to meet Tommy, but unfortunately, I get to meet Matt. But Matt's getting over his back thing, so hopefully I'll get back there soon because my sister lives there. So, but yeah, so back to phreology. It's just I learned some things that I didn't know before, which is one of the things that I've made a commitment to, like a couple years before I even met you, Derek. That I was going to try to learn something, if not every day, at least a few new things every week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've noticed that since I've become part of this network, so to speak, and these new friends and doing the podcast and actually paying attention to stuff in a more meaningful way, I actually kind of learn things almost every day because I read different things. I watch this show. I try to watch Humanity a lot too. And I just try to stay engaged with you guys. I pay attention to Mr. Broadnax, Jamel. Shout out to him. And my new one of my newer friends, Kyle Butler. I like him a lot. Yeah. And so with all you guys, I got this new circle of people who I don't know in person except for Tommy, which is just recent. But I'm able to tie into a part of me that probably was non-existent before. And with Aaron has a slant on spiritualism that I kind of never really got into, but listening to him speak about it has been like, oh, okay, I get what he's saying, blah, 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 blah. That kind of makes sense, blah, 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 blah. Certain things I hold fast and tight to, but I don't consider myself a person who I'm so fast and tight with what I believe or don't believe in that I don't have an open mind and can't at least listen to what somebody else has to say, as long as they're speaking in a very conscientious and respectful way. Then I'll listen to anybody at that point. If you're being respectful and you're very conscientious and you act like you actually give a damn what I think, and then I'm going to automatically I'm automatically going to give a damn what you think if you treat me that way. So I've never had any reason to not treat both of you brothers like that. So I appreciate both of you guys. I've learned a lot from you, especially you, Derek, and I'll continue to be here and soak it up and add to whatever I can add. I will add. So it is what it is.
Appreciate it, man. And we appreciate you stepping up, doing your show, and being a part of this whole thing, because the big thing about what we're doing, and this network is going to grow. We're gonna build this out. It's really all about thinking. It's all about considering something that you ordinarily wouldn't or couldn't. That's the whole thing. And I tell you, hanging out with Aaron for the last 5 years has helped me to grow. Like I said, I went deep into the rabbit hole, all the way down to the rock bottom of atheism, and kind of came up from that. And I'm not saying that the atheism in and of itself is bad. What I'm saying is that, for me, there was more. There was more, and so Aaron helped me to see that, and other people in my orbit, with my wife, my sister, I'm able to see things that I didn't see before, and I think that it makes me a better person. And that's the whole thing. At the end of the day, so I got to put out a shameless plug, because I'm about to start doing a new podcast called the Kaizen Way.
The what?
The Kaizen Way.
Kaizen. Okay, Kaizen. Okay.
And so Kaizen is a Japanese word that means continuous improvement, right?
Right.
And so I've embraced Kaizen as a way of life. What am I doing today? Am I doing it better than I did it yesterday? And that's the mantra for my life.
Nice. Well, when you said that about going from deep into atheism and kind of surfacing a little bit from that, I understand. I can relate to that, because although I am probably the biggest atheist, anti-theist person you'll ever meet, I also understand that there are religious people who are legitimately very beautiful human beings.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so what I've come to realize is that back when I was saying this a few years ago, it doesn't matter if you're religious or non-religious or totally atheist or anti-theist. Mm-hmm. What's most important is your humanity. And so if you're a good person and you treat people with respect and you treat yourself with respect, then it doesn't matter what you believe or don't believe, because the overall objective is to make everyone feel like they're worth being listened to and have value. Exactly, value. Yeah. If you treat everyone like they have value and treat yourself like you have value, then everything else is second. It's just that everything else is pretty much a subjective choice that you make.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. So if you believe in one God, 3 gods, 10 gods, or the 33,333 that the Hindus believe in, it doesn't matter, as long as you treat everyone else with respect and and give them value as long. And I think it's important that you do that to yourself too, because if you can't give yourself value and value yourself, I don't know how it's possible to value others in any meaningful way. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's the thing I've learned since I've been here. I went from, it's atheist religion, blah, 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 to, you know what? If you're a good person, I don't give a crap what you believe or don't believe. Just my issue now has become, if you're a person that's pressing your beliefs on anyone and forcing them, even if you're an atheist doing that crap, I don't agree with that. And it's not the fact that you're an atheist. Are you a good person to understand that not everyone's going to agree with you in your atheism?
Yeah.
And I think that's the bigger, me becoming a better person is realizing people can be beautiful to me and not agree with everything that I agree with, or meet me on that same spiritual plane, whatever that may be, or whatever beliefs or non-beliefs that we have. It's about treating people with respect and giving yourself and everyone around you value. And if you can do that, I don't give a damn if you're a Scientologist or a Mormon. I don't care. If you're a beautiful person, I got you.
Yeah.
Because I hate mean people. Mean people suck.
Nice people swallow.
You've been really good.
Oh my God. You're a trip, Derek.
You've been really good, Jimmy, about communicating that. It's one of the things I really appreciate about you. It's kind of like you're very strong. You're in your positions. You're very articulate about them. You can tell they're well thought out. But at the end of the day, anytime I listen to you, I always come home with, or it's brought back to me, mind your own business. Like, just mind your own damn business, right?
Yep. That's so important. That is so important.
It is important.
As a matter of fact, I never even realized it at the beginning, but when you mind your own business, you actually keep yourself grounded, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
That's good.
So, yeah, minding your own business is right up. That's why I say those 4 things at the end of my show. Respect yourself, respect others, mind your business, and have a good time, because you don't know when you're going to be out of here. So I really try to live by that. I really do.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Nice. Thanks for coming aboard, Jimmy. That was
no problem. I'm gonna break out because I'm home by myself. So I'm gonna do some stuff I normally can't do when the girls are here. I'm gonna play my home theater as loud as I can. Watch some movies. Watch some cool movies I've been wanting to watch. Some TV shows. So I just wanted to stop in, let you guys know that I'm still here. I just had some things to take care of yesterday, so it kind of interfered with my show. But we'll see you next week, and hopefully I can be proactive enough to record my shows. I have, for some reason, the Restream isn't scheduling them right. So last week I had to rerun the one that was one for the last week and put it on my YouTube by itself. So I couldn't do it on Facebook, but you could watch that one. It counted down and everything. It showed last week at 7. So, or it was at 8, actually. It was 7:30 or 8, one of the two. It was like a half hour or hour late, but still it showed. So you can still watch that one. But from now on, I'm either going to do it live, or if I can't do it live, I'm going to record it and then have it scheduled on YouTube. So,
yep. The big thing is keeping your content consistent. That's the big thing. Keeping your content consistent.
Yes, we will be able to do that more nowadays than before, and we'll get it all worked out. But I appreciate both of you guys. And I will keep my ears open. And if I can't finish watching this live, I'll definitely do the replay. So I appreciate you guys both.
Thanks,
Love
Jimmy.
You,
appreciate it.
Thank you guys. You guys take care.
Right.
You too.
All right. Bye.
So we were talking about, before Jimmy came on, we were talking about favorite guests.
Yeah.
Or the biggest guests. Some of the, in terms of guests that we've had on, who are some of your favorites?
Gosh, that's a really good question, because I can't think of others that we've had except the ones you already mentioned.
Yeah, and Daryl Rivers was on here before.
Oh, Daryl Rivers. Yeah, you know what? I really, really liked Daryl. That was a good one. That was a really good one.
And then we had Patrick Joubert on, but you weren't on that show.
Right, but I watched it. So we were leaving for vacation. So this is a funny story about that. We were flying out of Denver the next day, and the plan was to be up there and settled in the hotel by 4 in the evening, 5. So I would have been able to make the show. And we have, or had 2 guinea pigs. We only have 1 now. And so my wife found somebody that would take care of the guinea pigs up in Denver, right? Mm-hmm. And we get all the way up there, like 3 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever. And it turns out, like, when she was examining one of the guinea pigs, like, it had some kind of guinea pig disease or something. Like, it was having something we didn't know about. So she's like, nope, I can't board them. I can't take them in. So we're like, shit, we're leaving tomorrow we went to North Carolina. We're leaving tomorrow for North Carolina. What are we going to do with these guinea pigs? So we had to drive all the way back to Pueblo, which is about 2 hours, and then find somebody to take care of them in that short of a window of time, have them come over, show them what to do, and then drive back up. So I was in the car listening to you and Patrick Joubert, but during that, and so that's what happened there. But yeah.
Jube is a riot, man, and I think that he's somebody. Honestly, I've been kind of pulling his chain. He's a guy that really kind of needs his own show.
Oh, yeah, he'd be great.
He's a Christian preacher, and I don't know if we've talked about this before, but it's like the art of preaching. I love the art of preaching, even though I don't preach anymore. I love to hear somebody that has a good oratory, a good cadence, and Jube is that guy. It's like a mutual friend of ours had passed away last year, and Jube preached his funeral, and oh my God, it's like, it was. I said, if I were to go through the whole, having a funeral thing, that's the kind of funeral I'd want.
Yeah. Hold on, Derek. I got my computer's about to die, so I need to.
Oh, you got to get the plug.
Damn it! It's okay. I got to move.
Yeah, and then
I'm driving. If it dies, I assume that it all goes.
Yeah, the whole thing will crash.
Yeah. So just want to make sure that'd be the way to end it, right?
I said this earlier, and I was being kind of facetious, but actually being very sincere. Is that one of my favorite guests has been my wife, and Aaron, you've been privy to so much of my life. You know all that's going on under the hood.
Yeah.
But to have someone like her who believes in what you do, who supports what you do, that I can't say enough about that. And I think that again, this is a funny thing. Neither one of us are bad looking guys. I think that as far as guys, we're pretty good looking guys, right? I'm just going to put it out there. But it's like, Maya shows up and she's like a total smoke show. So it's like, people tune in because people like pretty faces, and, so.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to catch up. I've been so busy, man, just doing so many different things and burning the candle at both ends, and in school, and my oldest is going to high school next year. And so we had to figure out where he's going to go to high school and what he's going to do before the year ended. And it's just been busy, man. Plus I've been catching up because I was just out of commission for a lot of the time in April. So so May was catch up month. But can you believe it's June? Like,
dude, it's 2025 is almost halfway gone already. What's that? I'm talking about you because you're a total fucking smoke show.
Don't nobody want to hear that. Listen, tell them.
Hello.
Hey, Aaron. Don't nobody want to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah, they do.
Cut it out.
But when you show up on the show, we have
the ratings
numbers go up. The ratings go up. There's a reason for that.
You say.
Don't be bashful. You can join in because, like I said, you're one of my favorite guests. I want some fried chicken, baby.
I think I was disappointed with the Sean Rivera because he was, halfway
Yeah.
around the world, and so it was really choppy. But that was a good one. Of course, Promise is amazing.
Yep.
So
Yeah. So I'm gonna say some things like some people that said they were coming on and never did, like Jamal Broadnax.
mm-hmm.
I'm talking to you, Broadnax. I'm pointing to you. And Henry Harris is another one. These are guys that we were going to have come on. And in our next iteration, in our next multimedia life, I want to get David Fitzgerald on here. He wrote the foreword to my book. He's got another big production going on, another new book, and it looks like this is going to be another bestseller. So, David's a really interesting guy. He's a theologian that has latched on to the concept of whether or not or that Jesus never existed.
Yeah,
right? Mythicism. And so I had a conversation with Joe Mashuda on the New Day group, and Joe's like, "Hey, are you going to dispute all of these historians?" Listen, that's how the state of the art advances. It begins with a dispute, and if here's the thing that and this is, I'll throw a bone to Joe because I love Joe. He's a very thinking individual.
He's a smart guy.
He's a smart guy. But the thing that I'll say is that if his hypothesis is greater than mine, I'll yield to that. But I really think, and again, we'll talk about this as we get into the Gnostic agnostic, which is our next evolution. That it doesn't matter whether Jesus existed or not. But if the teaching is such that it causes you to turn inward and to draw out what is in you, like we've cited from the Gospel of Thomas multiple times, that if that's what it brings out of you, then yeah, we're off to a good start, even though it may, whether or not.
So I have an idea, something to contribute there. So one of the things that I've done this last year, besides focus on my healing, was dive more into ancient Greek philosophies, right? And this may be a good segue to talk about what we're going to be doing going forward from here. But the way I see it, the problem is not just the problem is monotheism. And I know it sounds crazy to people when I say that, like it blows their circuit boards. But
I know where you're going, but keep going.
Problem. Yeah, it's monotheism, and then this concept of revealed religion, that people don't have direct access to the divine. They don't have their own direct line or their own whatever. So this one God reveals truth to whoever. So for the Jews, it's Moses. For the Christians, it's Jesus. For the Muslims, it's Muhammad, Joseph Smith. We could go on and on and on, right? So the idea is, Jesus had truth, right? And so we've got to make sure that we get it. We got to make sure that we follow it, because that's how God revealed his truth to us, right? But here's the thing: if you take away the atonement, take away that aspect of it, the atonement, the resurrection, and you just look at the teachings of Jesus, he either falls into the category of the Stoics and Stoicism. I think I got that part right. Now, Joe, that you were talking about, he studies that. So, Joe, if I'm wrong, correct me. But I think he either falls in the category of the Stoics in the case of like the Synoptic Gospels, or Platonism in the case of like the Gospel of John and the Gnostic Gospels. So here's the point. If that's true, Jesus didn't say one damn thing that was different than a lot of other people had said.
Right.
And even if he was just a Jewish itinerant preacher, he's not saying anything that the Old Testament or Moses hadn't already said. And James in his writings and Paul in his writings, when they talk about loving other people or loving one another, they never say, as Jesus taught us, or as the master said. They always say, as is written in the law or the Torah, where it says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. So it's ridiculous to wrangle over some of these issues if we do away with the assumption and presupposition of monotheism and revealed knowledge. Does that make sense?
Yep, it makes perfect sense. And let me say this: I've said this over the last couple of weeks that I really believe that as far as like church fathers go, that Marcion was the closest one to the truth. And people get mad about that because there are people that are as yoked to the Old Testament as they are to the teachings of Jesus. And I really believe that if Paul was right, that that Jesus is the mediator of a better covenant, then the old covenant has no meaning to us. If we look at it through a purely historical lens, and we say, okay, this is how we got from here to there, that's fine. But if you say that I have to somehow roll this into the dough of what I'm baking now, then no, that doesn't work. And so I think that what we need to do is if we're going to, and this is my take, right, about the whole Gnostic thing. If I could call it this, I want to say it's a better way to Christian. Sure. A better way to Christian. Because instead of looking out, looking up, looking for some, for my help that comes from the hills, I'm looking within. I'm trying to find what is it that's in me. And so I said this earlier today. I said that there's a distinct difference between the sacred and the divine, right? Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is that life is sacred. There are sacred concepts, sacred things. The earth is sacred. Trees are sacred. Water is sacred, right? Mm-hmm. But divinity is us. If only you could see. My wife is over here. I'm just saying.
Come on, man. What's your input?
Come on over here, babe.
I'm about to eat.
No, come on over here.
No,
come here. Come here. Come here. For a second.
No. I'm about to eat. I have had the day from hell.
Oh,
I am listening to you guys. Literally, I was going to jump on, and I had an attorney file some stuff about an hour ago. So I just slammed it back. So I'm listening. I might hop on.
People can't see you.
They don't have to see me. They can hear me. I don't want to interrupt.
But I want you to stick your face in so the ratings will go up.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Yes, I am trying to shamelessly use your pretty face.
You say.
Anyway, I think that things are sacred, but humanity, life, consciousness is divine. And that if there, like, this is something that you helped me see, is that if there is a God, and when I say God, I'm talking about a governing concept. The consciousness is that, right? So it's like I'm okay. I'm on board with consciousness. I'm on board with that being the thing, the glue that holds us all together, and that's divine. That is the God particle. That is the God stuff, and I'm okay with that. But it's like people say, oh, well, church is sacred. The Bible is sacred. Hymns are sacred. No, none of that is sacred. Those are just things. It's like what exists in nature. The moon is sacred. Trees are sacred. The ocean is sacred. These are things, and anything that's sacred is worth preserving and protecting. And that's anyway.
Yeah, let's just talk about the word God for a little bit, because for me, this is such a to me, there's two sides to this coin, right? And I like that you said, I don't remember how you just said it, but you talked about a governing presence.
Yeah.
And I think that's the issue, right? Like there's this throne in the sky.
You know that the word God, the word governance is etymologically related to God.
I didn't know that, but that makes sense. So I get like, so here's where I'm at with it. I know if I talk about God, people are automatically going to associate what I say I believe with Judeo-Christian beliefs and values, with the Bible, right? With typical Western, whatever. And I don't know about you, but when I was a preacher, I didn't like telling people I was a preacher. I'd get on the airplane to go someplace, even on a mission trip, and I'd be like, I'm a motivational speaker. Because people would just get weird, right?
Yeah.
And this was back, especially when I was doing most of my traveling, this was back when that Hillsboro Baptist Church, Jonesboro, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Hillsboro Baptist.
And if you said you were a Christian, like people would almost put you in that basket. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So so I have a funny relationship with the word God, because I know if I say God and I believe in God or I pray to God or whatever, then people are going to associate it with something that I don't mean, right?
Yep.
But this goes back to something we were talking about earlier before we jumped on. I don't want to surrender language. I don't like surrendering words, because words give us the power to communicate. And with certain people, the concept of God is relatable to them. The word God is relatable to them in a different way. So I've struggled, man, with, if you start talking about consciousness, because I've done this, just with people who don't really care about all this stuff. They don't spend time thinking about this. They're probably not watching podcasts like Freeology Friday. They just want to put food on their table. They want to feel better about themselves. And so for them, God is a very relatable term. And so it's just, I don't know, man, like I go back and forth with it. Like I'll say God, and then I'll say, oh, I should say divine, or I should say source, or maybe I should just say consciousness. But I can tell you, when I start saying consciousness to people that haven't been engaging on these topics, their eyes glaze over. They're, and so it's one thing you can adapt, right, to your audience. But when you're doing something and reaching a broader spectrum of people, like a podcast or a live or something like that, you can't adapt because you don't even know what your audience necessarily is or who's going to see it. You know what I mean? Am I making sense? I feel like I'm just rambling.
It makes perfect sense. That it's a funny thing, because like if you say God, you're speaking in a term, you're speaking at a level that almost everybody can connect with.
Correct.
Right? But when you start saying source, when you start saying consciousness, when you start saying the universe, then you get lumped into the whole new age barrel, right?
Exactly. Yeah, there's that too.
And then people kind of tune out on you. And let me just say this, like for me, I don't care. That's me, right? So I'll speak in terms of the divine. So this is something that I've said, that you will never see more God than when you look in the mirror.
Yeah, you've said that a lot.
If you I did a live stream on that earlier this week. I said, if you can't praise and worship yourself, your praise and worship, like whether it be your children, your spouse, your God, whatever, your praise and worship is pointless and useless. Because when we talk about love, everybody says, or the Bible says, love God, love others. Love God, love others. But it never says anything about loving yourself. It tells you that in you no good thing dwells.
Right.
So you're starting from a really bad footing. You're starting from the point of self-deprecation, and somehow you have to muster this love for other people and also for an unseen God. And I think that that's really I think that's something that puts people on a hamster wheel.
Yeah.
And so my whole thing is, I want to get you off the hamster wheel. The first thing that I want you to see is that you are beautiful. You are wonderful. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, that you are special. You are unique. And you are worthy of love. You are worthy of adoration, which is worship. And you are worthy of compliments, which is praise.
Mm.
And if you don't get that down in your spirit, and I think that this is what Jesus was saying in the Gospel of Thomas, that if you manifest that which is what is within you, it will save you. If you fail to manifest this what is in you, it will destroy you. You have to first find yourself. In other words, you can never chart a course as to where you're going without first knowing where you are. Locus is important.
Yep.
And if you have not identified your own locus relative to your surroundings, then basically any direction you go in will take you there. But if you first say, okay, I am here.
Mm-hmm.
So where is here? I don't know. Is it a place in time? Is it a physical space? Is it a mindset? Is it a paradigm? Where am I? Now I can say, okay, this is my starting point. Right. I've established my locus. Now I can establish a destination.
Right.
And that's, if I could say that if there's anything that we've done over the last 5 years, Aaron, is to help people find out where they are. I think that we have done a supremely good job of that. I mean, if I don't pat myself on the back for a lot of stuff, but where I know I've succeeded, I do. And you and I, brother, we've done it. We've done it. And let me say this, for everybody that's watching, everybody that's been a consistent watcher, listener of Freology, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being here with us, for going through this journey with us. And more to the point, I want to thank everybody that has reached out to us and said, something, you guys said something that changed my life. And so I'm grateful for that. And I think that for everybody that's watching, it doesn't have to be Aaron or Derek sharing something that's life-changing. Hopefully you have heard something life-changing that you're able to share with someone else in your own sphere of influence that has helped somebody else, get escape velocity from the things that have held them down.
Mm-hmm. Anyway. So one of the things I love what Jimmy said about, I just like to watch it to get to know you guys better. Because here's what I think is the real power of Freology Friday, what it's been, because we've talked about everything under the sun, man. We've talked about self-help principles, psychology, politics, social issues, sexuality. I mean, I don't think there's a stone we left unturned, right? But it's all these hot button issues that are in our culture and in our society. And I won't say the name of the podcast because it's fairly out there. But what I mean is fairly prominent, and I don't want to, but I got invited to be on a podcast, and the topic of atheism comes up, and before we start recording and stuff, and they're like, "You're not an atheist?" And I'm like, "No, not at all." And the guy's mind was just completely blown. He says, and it was a podcast.
Did he ever air that interview, by the way?
Yeah, he sent me a thing that he did. Yeah, I never watched it. So.
Send me the link because I would love to watch that.
Yeah, he didn't send me the link, so I'd have to go out on his page or his channel. But he's like, he'd had you on before. He's like, Derek's a rock star, and he says, how in the world do you guys do Freology Friday? Like how does that work? And I love that, and I hate that at the same time, because it's like, why can't people. I think what's so important about what we do is we model connection even in the midst of disagreement or in the midst of talking about hot, but really, really hot button issues. And so here you've got, you know, this black guy from Detroit who's been all over the world, you know, been in the military, just done all kinds of different things. And then you've got this white dude from Avondale, Colorado, population 500 people that grew up basically on the farm and never left home. I live in, you know, in a 50-mile radius, not even 30-mile radius of where I grew up today, you know. Our backgrounds couldn't be more different. And except for the fact that we were both pastors. And so for us to be able to come together and for Jimmy and other people to say stuff like that, like, how do you guys make it work? And I've had a lot of people ask me that, like, well, how do you do it? Or I've even had, you know, somebody tell me a time or two, what you guys have modeled in terms of your friendship is something that I want to reproduce in my own life. And I think we had to, for me, narrow it down to one, the most important thing that we've done here by doing Phreology Friday. I think that's it.
You know, I think that there's, you know, people talk about listening and developing listening skills and then developing empathy, right? Some people will totally underrate that. And I can't say enough of it, you know, because like one of the things is like when I would talk about atheism and you would always say, you know, okay, I get where you're coming from, Derek, but have you considered this? And so it was like that. And then like my sister Sandy, who was very metaphysical, very spiritual, very mystic. You know, I listened to her because she was like, you know, she said, I understand where you are with atheism. She said, I can't see myself there. And then, you know, then May and I reconnected and it was like the same thing. It's like, okay. And so I would listen. And this is, if I could say anything about myself, that my long suit is, I listen, you know. I remember Simon Yap and I had a big falling out over Matthew 24:14. You know, this gospel of the kingdom must be preached to all as a witness to all the nations, and then the end will come. And Simon was like, no, Derek, the end has already come, because he was preterist at the time. And so this whole preterism thing, I had to go back in order for me to have a whole relationship with Simon, because what a lot of people don't realize is that Simon is probably my oldest online friend. Well, I won't say my oldest. My oldest online friend would be Tony Calloway. But after that, it would be Simon. I mean, it's like after I, you know, connected with all my friends and, you know, family on social media, it was like Simon, you know. And so I had said to myself, like, it's funny, we got reconnected through a guy that neither one of us fuck with anymore. I'm not going to mention any names, but when Simon and I reconnected, I said, okay, I'm going to listen to what he says instead of, you know, coming at him and trying to disagree with him with what my viewpoint is. I'm going to listen to him. And when I listened to him, I was like, fuck, that actually makes sense. And I went back to Simon and I shared that with him. And so now Simon is like, you know, okay, he's listening to me and he's like, man, the Bible is like just total bullshit, you know? And so it's the circle of life all over again. But it's like, you help me because, so Tommy is on here. And
Tommy, I hope you weren't waiting too long back there. I just happened to check.
No.
Like, oh, there he is.
Yeah, I just hopped on. I figured whenever you guys felt like a natural point to bring me on, you would. I was just listening.
I didn't know you were back there waiting.
No,
well, hey, you know, speak of the atheist, and he will appear.
Yeah, there you go.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I mean, I heard you guys talking about how, you know, a pretty face helps your ratings. I mean, I'm no Maya, but I figured, you know.
Yeah, you're not Mayo, but you listen. You're not too bad, man. You know, if I was a girl, I'd holler at you.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Good times.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you jumped on, Tommy. What do you have to contribute? What is Phreology Friday meant to you?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, I was hoping you guys would ask me. Yeah, I mean, very similar to a lot of the stuff Jimmy was saying earlier. Yeah, first and foremost, I mean, before I started watching your guys' show, like I already was kind of familiar with Derek. Like we'd connected like on Facebook and stuff. But this was basically my
The
introduction.
Heretic
to
Happy
Aaron.
Hour.
Yep. That was it.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
In that Facebook group where, yeah, I think we were both like refugees of that particular
Yep.
Facebook group. But yeah, I was just very touched because like one of the first ways we connected was Derek was one of the people kind of following along back. For people who know my story, I think about 4 years ago now, I had stage 4 cancer, and Derek was like one of the people like reaching out and following like all my posts about it, sending encouragement and stuff. Always appreciated that. So I started following him more on here, and that's, like I said, how I got to know you, Aaron. Yeah, for me, it's just been great. Yeah, like for people who know me, or I guess for people who don't know me, I consider myself atheist. You know, like Aaron, you know, you were talking about like the word God and how you kind of feel weird like using it. For me, like I'm kind of that way with the term atheist because, you know, that's another one of those words that's misunderstood all the time. It's like, but because I actually prefer the term apistivist, but like no one knows what the fuck that means, so I don't really use it. But, so usually just
explain it. I want to know because now you're educating me.
Okay. Yeah. So apistivist, and it's a word like it's I think the root word in it, pistis, is from, I think it's Greek meaning faith.
Greek.
So like
Pistis
apistivist. Yeah. So it basically means like as far as like my worldview, if you want to call it that, or kind of how I build my view of reality. I at least prefer not to use faith as a tool, and then even again like use the word faith, and people have so many different meanings of like what that means. It was really coming off of, because like before I had cancer, like I was a Christian like my whole life. It started like pretty heavily deconstructing a few years before that, but then it got to the point where it was like stage 4, things were looking like pretty bleak. But then I just very quickly like recovered, been in like complete remission for 3.5 years. Yeah, about 3.5 years now. So maybe like shortly after that, it was just this whole, I thought I was dying and now I'm not. And now I'm just kind of like reevaluating everything. Ended up completely losing my faith in Christianity, like really for no other reason. Like nothing like happened. Like I didn't feel like hurt by the church or like no one did anything. It was really more just the more I thought about it, I was like, I don't think I like actually believe any of this. So then when it came to like rebuilding my worldview, I just like, okay, if my worldview, like the things I believe or think or whatever, are going to be like to the level where I'm actually going to, whether you want to say like dedicate my life to it or like live my life according to this, like I want to actually like be sure that this is real, you know, after coming off of this thing that I thought was real for like 38 years. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, it's not. So it's like, I kind of just don't want that to happen again. That was really my thing. So,
yeah.
And like I said, I consider myself atheist. I'm pretty vocal about that, but it's one of those things like, honestly, I don't really consider that necessarily like the core of where I'm at. It's, I guess, just more an artifact of, I guess, wherever I am. But yeah, as far as what I love about your guys' show and what you do here, I think at least one of my favorite ways to think about it is actually something I said to Aaron last time he was on my show that I do with my friend Matt, the Humanity, that like you guys and Jimmy mentioned earlier. Yeah, we've had Aaron on a couple times, and what I told him like near the end of the last episode was like, Aaron, like you're one of my favorite people to disagree with, because like there's so many things that we see differently when it comes to like the specifics and the details, but I think like at the core, it feels like we definitely have a lot in common, you know, with Derek as well, like just as far as our overall approach of like not just how we go after trying to figure out what we believe, but also how we interact with and view other people, even when they do disagree with us. Again, like I'm probably going to be repeating a lot of stuff that Jimmy said earlier, just, like, because one of the things that I've found like in the past few years since sort of like, I guess, rebuilding my life in a certain way is like figuring out some of the things that are truly valuable to me. And one of the primary things I found is valuable to me is having people in my life who, when I'm around them, they let me be me.
I love that.
So
I really like
that's
that.
what I found. Like obviously like my friend Matt, who like I do the show with, like we've been best friends for like almost 20 years. And that's one of the reasons why is because like the two of us, like we both changed. I guess fortunately we both changed a lot kind of at this like the same pace, like kind of found the same track, but like the whole time we're like both of us feel completely comfortable being just completely honest with each other. Same with like some other friends, but it's been great. And a lot of this has been people I've met through Derek and my interactions with him. People like you, Aaron, people like Jimmy, other folks you mentioned on here, Bishop Jamel, and several other people through that Facebook group associated with Heretic Happy Hour. Even though I left the group, I'm still connected with several people there. So yeah, it's one of those things that like I kind of enjoy how in the past few years I've kind of broken a couple, I don't know if you call them like stereotypes or preconceived notions about things. Both one that like, social media and online interaction is just totally toxic. And also you don't make friends after your 30s. It's like, well, I've made tons of great friends on social media just in the past like 5 years or so. So yeah, but
you don't make friends after 30, huh? That's a new one.
That's what they say, but I mean,
I disagree. I'm
oh yeah, me too.
I didn't know that was a thing.
I'll be 63 in August, and I'm still making new friends.
Well, I guess screw those people then. Whoever said that, full of shit. But yeah, but that's one of the things I loved watching about the show. Like, even if you guys are talking about something that it's like a topic, whether I just completely disagree with where you guys are at, or even with things where, if I'm honest, I really have no idea what you're even talking about. It's still cool. Like, just listening to your perspectives and trying to figure out like what it is. Like, this is something I've never heard of. Is this something I may be interested in? Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not, but it's fun finding out at least that it's not, and not just assuming it's not, but if that makes sense. But yeah. So yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I think that our next iteration, Tommy, it'll be interesting to both believer and atheist alike.
All right.
That's what I think.
Cool. Well, I mean, because this certainly has. I mean, yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to what you guys got up next. Yeah. But yeah. Sorry, go ahead there.
No, I was going to say one thing. I would say that the most prevailing theme that we've talked about is how to find and become your best authentic self.
Yeah.
Because people always say, find yourself, be your best self. Well, like a lot of times what people say is your best self is not authentic. It's something contrived. It's something that you're trying to do. But when you're your best authentic self, you are the best version of the most authentic you can be. And so, Tommy, while you're here, let me just give you some roses that you are one of those people that embodies the best authentic self paradigm. Because there are people out there that are trying to be something that they're not in order to gain some influence, to be something that they're not. Whereas you are just raw, just listen, this is who I am. This is what I've been through. This is what I've dealt with. And, and I've worked through this. I've done the shadow work. I've done the light work. I've worked on myself. I've tapped into my inner resources, and this is the best authentic me that I can be. And I'm gonna tell you something, Tommy. Your sincerity and genuineness radiates through everything you say and do. It's amazing. I mean, if there was a dictionary definition of best authentic self, Tommy Stewart's picture would be beside it.
Yeah. Well, that really means a lot, especially coming from you. That was one thing probably for a lot of my life, like, you know, especially going back to I was younger, I would say, and also something I talk about with my therapist a lot, which also, quick plug, everyone should have a therapist if you can swing it. It's super helpful, even if you're not necessarily like having specific issues. Like, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I talk a lot about, for a lot of my life, it's like I felt like I had trouble really expressing myself, whether it's just because I just didn't have the words or maybe thought, you know, growing up super conservative Christian, like there were all kinds of parameters on things. And also finding out recently, I'm actually probably autistic. So that had a lot to do with it as well. But yeah, so like I said, that means a lot coming from you here, and that I guess I'm definitely succeeding at that more. So I appreciate that. But also, got to say, as far as, you know, like you were saying, like not doing it for like notoriety or just to get myself out there, but it's kind of cool the way it works out is since I have started becoming more genuine myself with like about myself and with like what I'm thinking, being more honest and open, that's kind of led to me having more avenues to get out there. Again, largely like thanks to you, Derek, for helping us get our show, The Humanity, launched, and like both you guys, like we've had you on the show before. I'd love to have you both back sometime. Yeah. Obviously, we'll be in touch. But yeah, so that's it's just been really cool to see. Yeah, like you said, once I started being a lot more like open and honest with myself. Now there are obviously some aspects of my life where that had a little more like negative consequence and impact. Some people not being so much of a fan of some things I've had to say and some changes I've, you know, gone through or whatever. But that's what's made like having, you know, people like you and like other people in my life who have been like just been so supportive of me, like coming out and being authentic. That's meant the world, because like people tell me like that I'm being like so brave or whatever for being so open, but honestly, like I do it because of the feedback I get and support from people like you. So I mean, you make it easy. Like it doesn't really feel like I need to be brave because I have so many people, yeah, like you, who are supporting me through it. So just wanted to thank you for that as well. So
that's awesome.
And it's very awesome.
Yeah.
I'm honored and humbled by all of that.
No, well, likewise. But yeah, so I guess on that note, I guess it can only go downhill from here. So all right. So yeah, I'll let you guys get back to doing your thing, and yeah, I'll be sure to keep watching what else you guys got planned going forward. So yeah, thanks again. Like I said, definitely hope to have both you guys back on The Humanity. And Matt, if you're watching, keep recovering, dude.
Yep. Get better, Matt.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right.
All right,
good
bro.
Night, guys.
Thanks for coming, Tommy.
I want to say this, that like, okay, so we're talking about going into Gnosticism.
Yep.
And just whet the audience appetite. What is Gnosticism?
Yeah.
And why is it important?
Yeah. So Gnosticism is a very broad topic, right? I mean, it covers a wide range of various different beliefs, but I would say the fundamental difference between Gnosticism and Orthodoxy is they present two totally different versions of Jesus, whether he lived or didn't live, existed or didn't exist, completely different versions of the man and what he taught, completely different ideas. Starting with, you kind of touched on it already, this idea that we get in Western, well, yeah, I mean, I don't even know if that's the right word, but this idea that we get in Christianity, that we get from the Bible, that you can't trust your heart is deceitful and wicked, in your flesh there dwells no good thing. We have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, all of that. That's where the predominant Christian voices throughout the ages have begun, with Jesus. So Jesus is the answer to you being fucked up. Gnosticism is the opposite of that. Gnosticism is you have a divine spark inside of you. You have the sacred, as you were saying, Derek, earlier, inside of you. You've just forgotten about it. And so the teachings of Jesus from the Gnostic Gospels are more about waking you up to your own divine human potential. I like that. Versus pointing you outside of yourself to someone or something else to save you. So I think it's fair to say, and I don't really have a strong opinion. To me, it doesn't really matter. The mythicist view, the historical view, I don't have a strong opinion about it. But I do think that, so I'm going to speak as though Jesus was a real person.
Yep.
But it's not a hill that I'm dying on. He came as the example, and we turned him into the exception. He came to show humanity the ideal, and we turned him into an idol. And I think that's the difference. Orthodox Christianity is all about, oh, look at Jesus. He walks on water. He multiplied the fishes. He died on the cross. He raised from the dead. He saved you. He's God incarnate in the flesh. He's member of the Trinity. And the Gnostic vision of Jesus is he came to show you what was possible for you. He came to show you who you are in your essence, and that you're not this dirty, filthy rag that just needs to be tossed away. And you don't need a savior outside of yourself, because you've got this divine spark and divine consciousness on the inside of yourself. So that's how I would set it up. What would you say?
Well, you know what? One of my favorite stories is how Jesus fed the multitudes, right? And the thing that I've learned, or this was even before I really embraced agnosticism, atheism, or even Gnosticism, is that where was the miracle in the feeding of the 5,000? Well, first of all, you have to look at, they only counted the men.
Right.
That was the way things were done. So there was a lot of polygamy going on then. And so we were probably looking at between 25 and 40,000 people that were actually being fed. Now, with that being said, it said Jesus took the two-piece fish dinner that the boy had, and he blessed it and he broke it. And people say, oh, look, Jesus made a miracle. No. In order for 40,000 people to be fed, there had to be an army of servers. The miracle was not in Jesus blessing and breaking the fish and the bread. It was the disciples and everyone else that had been assigned. What am I getting at? To your point, Aaron, that the miracle is not in Jesus. Jesus isn't the fountain of the miracle. Jesus is the paradigm through which the miracle is replicated. He's the pattern, the paradigm. You know, if you're going to manufacture something, you have to cast a die. And once the die is cast, now you can stamp out parts over and over and over.
Yeah.
This is what Gnosticism is all about. And what I love about this is that the story about the feeding of the multitude is that this is Gnosticism hidden in plain sight.
Yeah.
You know, because this is like, in order for this to happen, it couldn't have just been Jesus. It couldn't have been just the disciples. It had to be all hands on deck.
Yeah.
Which means that there were some people that had to get something in a hurry.
Yeah.
So that being said, Gnosticism is all about how do we get the teaching, the essence of Jesus, or the Christ consciousness, immediately, impactfully, informatively, that it happens, boom, and there it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm really excited about, is being able to share that with people, because they don't see it,
No.
And then the other thing too is that preview, spoiler alert, is that there are a lot of people in the Bible who have been portrayed as bad guys. Judas Iscariot is portrayed as a bad guy, but if you go back and read the Gospel of Judas, Judas was the guy who really understood that who Jesus prayed to was different than whom the disciples prayed to. And then if you take that and reverse engineer it, and I've said this and people got mad at me when I said it, I said the serpent in Genesis 3 was not the bad guy. The serpent was actually the good guy. The serpent was like, okay, there's something being hidden from you. I'm going to help you get it.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to really look at this, like gnosis in the Greek, in the Koine, means knowledge. And it doesn't just mean knowledge, it means special revealed knowledge. So when we talk about gnosis, we're talking about the esoteric teachings of Jesus. How do we emulate his actions? And I really believe that if we get this, that whether you believe Jesus existed or not, immaterial, totally unrelated.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can strip away all of the facade, all of the pretentiousness, all of the religiosity that Christianity has built this kernel around Jesus. But if you could strip all of that away and we get down to the meat, right? It's like when you take a kernel of popcorn, right? It's not the kernel or the shell that causes the pop. It's the water and the bran within.
Mm.
So what we're doing is we're popping the corn without the shell. That's what Gnosticism is.
Yeah. I just saw a comment from Michelle. She's been commenting a lot. She says, I'm not sure this is truly live. So maybe by reading the comment.
No, it's truly live, Michelle.
That'll show it's not a playback. Not that it matters, but I just happened to see that comment. So I thought I'd respond.
And Tommy says, hell the serpent.
Joe Mashuda says Philo was writing about the Logos being the Son of God at about the time of Jesus' birth or early childhood. Gnosticism was definitely dependent on Middle Platonic and Hermetic teaching that observed Jesus as an alchemist if he existed. You said a lot there, Joe.
Yeah, and Joe, I appreciate that because you just threw me a bone right there. Joe and I had a very rousing discussion in the New Day group.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, Joe. You're a special guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, what else is there about phreology, Aaron? That I mean, dude, it's 5 years that we did this. 5 years.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say we both. I mean, people are saying the impact it had on them. I think it's safe to say that we both really grew from this experience. And to quote scripture, iron sharpens iron, right? And I really have that relationship with you, and I appreciate that. And I haven't had many of those relationships in my life. And so for me, golly, I think we've both grown, been through a lot of changes. And I think the hallmark of a solid relationship, whether, whatever kind of relationship it is you're free to grow. Like you talked with Tommy about your best authentic self. I think there's also a place for you have freedom to grow and I have freedom to grow.
Yep.
And we don't
have to grow together.
There's progress. We don't have to grow together, and we don't get in the way of the other's progress. And
yep.
And there's no jealousy. Like there's no, just never felt any, like we cheer each other on. We want to see the other person succeed at whatever they're doing in life. And so I value the relationship that we've built over the last 5 years with these weekly conversations.
Yeah, I mean, now let's take it back a step, because we were friends for a couple of years before we started doing the show together.
It's true. That's true.
Hey, Matt's here.
Hey, I'm here.
Hey, Matt.
How you alive?
I'm alive, and hold on a second. Let me see if I get these headphones to connect. All right, let me. All right, can you hear me still?
But I want to say one thing before you kick in, and it's this: we had a tagline, "Growing in real time."
Oh yeah.
And that's what I feel like I've done. There are so many times when we've been in the middle of a conversation, and you'll say something, or we have an exchange, and it's suddenly, some magic has happened. I've grown.
Yeah,
I've grown.
Growing in time. Yeah.
Yep. And it doesn't happen with everybody. I mean, the number of people that I grow in real time with, Aaron, can be measured on the fingers of one hand.
Yeah, same here, for sure.
All right,
Matt,
can you guys hear me all right?
Yes, sir. What has phreology meant to you, and what, if anything, have you learned from this? Just share your experience, because this is the phreology farewell. This is it. This is the last phreology.
Well, I have to admit, I haven't been able to catch that many streams.
That's okay.
So what I have to go on is interactions with you guys, either on our show or just in different chat conversations. So, although I have kind of internalized the term phreology, even though I haven't really watched it, because I've been kind of trying to unpack what that means, to have kind of the freedom to explore what is your code for life, or what does it mean to live your life as you, instead of as an external ideology, or through another ideology.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like how you said that, Matt.
Yep.
By the way, for anybody who doesn't know, I'm laying down partially propped up because I had back surgery. It's not just because I'm so chill about whatever is happening right now.
How's the recovery coming?
It's going all right. It's going, I guess, a little better than expected, but the as expected recovery is going to be weeks. So, I don't know, just trying to stay positive and keep busy doing things I enjoy.
I had spinal surgery sometime in the last 5 years, and we didn't miss a beat. It was on my neck, so I had this big old neck brace, and I would just take it off. Vein or whatever, so I would take it off. But I think the recovery, because it was spinal fusion, and that took 3 months, I think.
And you were self-conscious about that scar, Aaron.
I was. You're right. Yeah, I can't even find it now. But yeah, I was very self-conscious about it. That's right. So I was wearing stuff that was tight up here and stuff like that. Yeah. So I know what that's like, going through those kind of surgeries, being in that kind of pain, having that kind of surgery, and then recovering.
Well, fortunately, I didn't have a fusion. I didn't need that. It was just a discectomy where they shave off the part of the disc that's causing a problem.
Okay.
So mine is mostly going to be a little bit of nerve pain, but mostly muscle weakness. Just because I was laying down for a week, so walking
Sure.
is difficult now. Standing up hurts. So yeah, combination of things. Yeah, fortunately, I didn't need a fusion, so it won't take as long or be as restrictive afterwards.
Yeah. Okay. Still a big deal, man. They're in there operating on your spine. That's
yeah,
that's not good.
But about the phreology stuff, where you guys are has kind of helped me realize where I am, because talking with Aaron about left hand path, right hand path stuff helped me realize more about where I was in the left hand side of things. And Derek, you kind of like revisiting faith in a different way kind of gave me permission to like relook at things. I don't know if it's because I want to. Yeah, going back into a religion does not appeal to me, but the depth of the writings, especially Mark, and the layers of meaning that are there beyond the just the regular Christian way of seeing things, the more orthodoxy view. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in diving back in to see what else is there, and what things might be there that I didn't realize were there before because they weren't. I didn't see them as useful before, but now I may see them as helpful or useful. And I know very little about Gnostic beliefs or practices, so that's going to be very interesting.
You know what, Matt, you had responded to something in the New Day group that talking about denying yourself, and what you said really resonated with me because we're taught deny yourself, take up your cross and follow Jesus, and what I've learned is that denying yourself, let me say this, not just denying yourself, but any form of self-deprecation is bad. That at a certain level, you have to celebrate yourself. You have to celebrate who you are. And it's funny because like I went through this with like a lot of my friends who came out of the closet, so to speak. And I said, okay, I can't just, accept them. I have to tolerate them. And then as more and more began to share their stories and their with me, then it was like, not just celebrate. I have to not just tolerate, but I have to celebrate, right?
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about that when you said this. I was like, man, you can't just deny yourself. At some point, in order for you to fully express your humanity, you have to celebrate yourself. Yeah. And so when you said that, dude, I was like totally on fire, totally feeling what you were saying.
Oh, good. Yeah, I think it's something that gets overlooked. And the dying to yourself thing, it can be kind of like a self martyrdom, but it can also just be something people see as like a healthy thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like giving of yourself to others, like giving something to others at cost to yourself. And Greg Boyd is actually very big on love means giving away something of yourself to someone else at cost to you.
Yeah.
And I think that can be true. But I think a healthier way is to give something away that benefits both of you. That if that's possible, that should be the ultimate goal. And then there are times where you do have to, it does cost you to care about someone. But I think there's a big problem with institutionalizing that into like an orthodoxy or a faith where it needs to be habit, like an unflinching habit where you die to yourself or deny yourself. And you can't You can't do that as a way of life because you just shrivel up. Like as a person inside, the part that's you shrivels up more and more. And I know there's a song, where it says like, more of you, less of me, praising God and all that. And that's toxic for a person.
It is.
In a regular human relationship, you can't do that. Like, it'll eat you alive. And any therapist will tell you to get out of it if the relationship can't be changed.
That's a totally narcissistic relationship.
Yeah.
Here he is. Beetlejuice is back.
My son was giving me the look, so I don't know what he was eyeballing me about, but I'm sure he'll let me know.
I was texting my son Ducey in the background, and Ducey is another one of our guests. He's interviewed you. You've been on his podcast, and and this is a guy. Ducey and I have had some challenges. Going through the divorce with his mom, it was challenging, but the one thing that Ducey has held on to is his sense of self, and so anyway, he was texting me about some things that were going on in his life, and but he's a guy that he'll eventually sort it out because he's that kind of guy. And so speaking of kids, Aaron, what is it? Josiah is your oldest one, right?
He's the youngest.
He's the older. Who's the older one?
Elijah.
Okay, so I think it's Elijah, the one that that has said some things that I'm like, I gotta meet this guy.
That's Josiah. You're thinking of Josiah, I think.
Okay, Josiah. Okay.
Yeah. So this might be interesting for people. So I have two boys. One, not a fundamentalist, but definitely a believer in Jesus, definitely prays, definitely believes in God. And then my other son, Josiah, that is just if there is such a thing as a devout atheist, he is a devout atheist. He is devoted to that frame of reference. And it's just kind of cool to be able to have a family where they can both just be themselves, since we're talking about being your authentic self.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
And no pressure on either one of them to conform to, because it'd be easy, right? Having deconstructed. And there have been times that we're like, oh, he wants to go to church camp. What are they going to put in his head? And, they might try to tell you these things. And he's like, I know, I got it. He's telling both his mom and me that. And he comes back, he says, Dad, it wasn't at all like you said. They were really nice. They were really nice people.
Like, well, they usually are.
And so it's just, but it's interesting because, like, as a Christian, it would have been, oh my God, my son's an atheist. He's going to go to hell. I've got to correct this. I got to pull him out of school. I got to homeschool him. I got to, whatever. But then also, having deconstructed from that, you can take that approach with your kids and say, oh my God, they're getting into religion. We need to steer them clear of that. And so what an honor and privilege to just be able to allow them, as their capacities grow, to make their own decisions and their own choices has really been amazing. But it's Josiah that comes up with it. And that kid, Derek, I swear, man, talking to Josiah is like talking to you.
I know, because you told me one time, he said, I like your friend Derek.
Yeah. He's all about it. I did something a while back. And he's like, Dad, I don't think you should be doing that. He says, I think that's going to be bad for your reputation. I was doing something with somebody else. He's like, I think that's going to be bad for your reputation.
but it was smart. My son Ducey loves you and has a lot of respect for both you and Kyle, because he's interviewed both of you guys.
Yeah.
Or he's been on both of you guys' shows.
Yeah.
And the dogs are barking at someone at the door.
I was like, wait, are they eating each other?
Is it the DoorDash?
Yeah, I'm going to mute that.
It sounded like one bark. Just
No,
like
it's two dogs barking
schizophrenically
in harmony.
That is great.
Yay, baby.
That's the fun of doing stuff live, right?
Where's yours? Why aren't you getting any?
Because I ate. You said you wanted chicken. So I got
Yep, must be the DoorDash guy.
Yeah, my wife ordered me fried chicken because I said I wanted fried chicken.
Wow. All right.
There you go.
So that might be a good place to to off ramp this.
Yeah, probably is. Probably is a great place to off ramp this. So for people that think like we're going to be back, we're just changing the format of the show. We're narrowing the focus for a while. We may do this for 6 months and make a change again. We may do it
We'll do it for 5 more years.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So we'll still be, I think we haven't really talked about times. I know, Derek, you've got new employment and stuff. So I don't know, we may need to revisit that as far as the time that we're doing it, but we'll let everybody know.
No, the time is still good.
Okay.
And unless you want to change the time, we can, I'm flexible with that.
Okay.
Hey,
yeah.
I'm going to let you guys wrap this up on your own.
Sorry, Matt. Are you still in the room?
Well, no, I also was going to watch a World War I movie with my son. So
nice.
I'll let you guys handle the end of the program on your own without me here, because I would feel weird
Matt,
being here for the end.
I just want to say I love and appreciate you, man.
Likewise.
Oh, thank you. Same.
Likewise. All right, Matt. See you later, man.
Yeah. See you later.
So next Friday, I guess we'll be doing what do we call it? The Gnostic Agnostic.
The Gnostic Agnostic. And you are the Gnostic mystic, and I'm the Gnostic Stoic.
Yep. So we're not, breaking up or.
No, the bromance continues.
So, but appreciate everybody for their comments. Appreciate everybody that supported us through the years. We've talked about taking these and turning them into a book. We'll probably do that at some point too. Yeah. We can have a massive phreology book now, right? Like one of those encyclopedics.
Yeah, it's like the phreology encyclopedia.
Yeah. All right, my friend. Enjoy your chicken. Enjoy your wife. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I love you very much. And look forward to the future, man.
Oh man, listen, Aaron, I'm gonna tell you something. I love you in a way that I can't explain. It was wonderful that you were here for our wedding and that you were able to officiate for us, and that you got to meet and integrate. And I'm gonna tell you something. Let me tell y'all something. My family gave Aaron a fire fucking baptism.
I got baptized by fire. I sure did.
but I'm gonna tell you something. Aaron came out as pure gold. He is one of us. He is one of us. This is my brother. And Aaron, I love you and I appreciate you. That's all I can say.
Yeah. I cherish those memories, man. I think about that often. I think about that night before the wedding at your house with your brother, and
they were giving the whole, whole grilling, man. And everybody came back and they said, listen, before you even showed up, Maya had called you an honorary black person.
Well, I'm honored. Maybe I was in a past life or something.
But dude, it was like when you showed up, you erased all doubt.
That's great. That trip to Walmart. I mean, all of it was it was so much fun.
It was.
I wished I'd have been feeling better. I didn't realize I was sick, at the time, but it was still such a great memory. So love you guys. And we'll